Hello and welcome, my dear friend. You did not stumble upon this moment by accident. Destiny itself carried you here, guiding you step by step until you could arrive at this very threshold. And what makes this moment so powerful is that today, for the first time, the truth you're about to hear won't just sound like comforting words from afar. It won't just feel like something meant for someone else. Today, this truth belongs to you. It is yours to claim, yours to breathe in, and yours to finally live out. For so long, you've been living as though you were still caught in the middle of a never-ending battle. Your shoulders have been tight, carrying burdens too heavy for one soul. Your heart has stayed guarded, wrapped in protective layers because you were taught the world could wound you at any moment. Your mind has been restless, racing ahead to predict worst-case scenarios before you've even had the chance to enjoy the peace right in front of you. That's what happens when life conditions you to always expect the next blow, when hardship whispers that calm is only temporary. But heaven has a different message for you today. Listen closely because it is meant for you. The fight that tried to define you, the war that once dictated how you moved, how you breathed, how you braced yourself, has already been settled. The verdict has been delivered. The case is closed. The battle is over. Now it is time for something new. It is time to rest. I know those words might sound strange, almost foreign, because your body still remembers the tension. Your spirit still carries invisible bruises. Your mind still replays memories of how hard the journey has been, how much it took simply to survive. But victory isn't always a trumpet blast or a parade in your honor. Sometimes victory is quieter, more subtle, more sacred. Sometimes it's the undeniable truth that you outlasted what was sent to erase you. And here you are, standing, breathing, living proof that you endured. That alone is evidence enough. The hardest part is already behind you. Think back for a moment. Remember the nights you lay awake, your mind rehearsing every reason to quit? Remember the mornings when you had no strength left, but you still got up and walked forward anyway? Remember the days when survival itself felt like climbing a mountain with no end in sight? And yet, even then, tomorrow kept coming, and so did you. That kind of perseverance is not ordinary. It is not simply human grit. It is divine. It is supernatural. It wasn't just your willpower that carried you here. It was preservation. God's preservation. A force greater than yourself that refused to let the weight crush you, because your story was never meant to end in defeat. Now heaven has spoken a final word over your life. The war that dragged itself across years, that tangled itself into generational cycles, that tried to swallow your identity whole. It has reached its conclusion. And maybe you've already felt it, even if you couldn't explain it. Maybe you've noticed how the same old fears don't hold you the way they used to. How the same temptations that once tripped you no longer have the same grip. How peace has been quietly moving in, even though chaos still knocks at your door. That's because something shifted in the spiritual realm. Something closed. Something ended. Perhaps you haven't allowed yourself to see it yet. Perhaps you've been so accustomed to living with heaviness that it feels strange to imagine a life without it. Perhaps you never thought rest was meant for you, not after years of constant striving and bracing for the next blow. But here is the truth. When heaven announces a victory, it doesn't matter if earth has caught up to it or not. God's decree always outruns human recognition. Your victory is already written, already sealed, already established, even before your eyes can fully see it. So if you've been waiting for a sign, let this be it. You have crossed the finish line you thought would end you. You have outlasted what others thought would destroy you. And because of that, you are invited into a new way of living. You are allowed to rest. Not the restless kind of rest where you're still bracing for the next storm, but the deep, soul-level rest that comes when you realize the war is over. Truly over. Yes, life will still bring challenges. No one is immune to the natural tests of living. But that particular battle, the one that stalked you for years, the one that carried the weight of generational struggle, the one that tried to rob you of your identity, that battle no longer has authority over you. It no longer gets to write your story. You outlasted it. And now you are stepping into a season not defined by survival, but by recognition. Heaven already recognizes what you carried and how you endured. Heaven already calls you victorious. And in time, The earth will have no choice but to reflect that recognition too. Not because you finally became worthy of it, you always were, but because the timing has finally aligned with truth. This is why your own perception must shift now. You don't need to rehearse the fight anymore. You don't need to keep polishing the armor that already did its job. You don't have to walk through every day like danger is around every corner. You are allowed to set some things down now. You are allowed to breathe differently now. You are allowed to walk with a holy ease that doesn't apologize for existing. Even if comfort feels strange after years of surviving, remember, God is not asking you to prove you survived. He's inviting you to live like someone who already has. And when you live like someone who has already overcome, everything changes. Your prayers change. Less from desperation, more from confidence. The way you love changes, less from fear of loss, more from wholeness. The way you carry yourself changes, less from striving, more from knowing you are already chosen. You have walked through the proving ground. You have passed the hardest test. And heaven's voice is loud and clear. You already won. So let that truth anchor you. The restlessness, the second-guessing, the scanning of the horizon for the next storm, those are just echoes of an old war. They don't belong to you anymore. What belongs to you now is peace. What belongs to you now is freedom. What belongs to you now is rest. Not laziness, but stability. The kind of rest that stands on a solid foundation, knowing it will hold because it already has. The next time your thoughts try to drag you back into panic, remind yourself, the war ended. The record is sealed. The verdict is victory. Heaven's announcements never fail. Rest is not weakness, my friend. Rest is strength revealed after the battle is finished. Rest is what you've earned by enduring what should have ended you. Think of it this way. When someone finishes a marathon, no one dares question if they deserve to sit down. No one looks at them and says, "Why are you catching your breath?" Why? Because the evidence of their effort is undeniable. Every step is proof of what they carried, proof of what they overcame. And that is you. You've run the distance others doubted you could. You've endured storms designed to drain you. You've proven simply by standing here that your endurance is unmatched. So rest is no longer optional. It is required. It is the sacred transition into the next chapter. Rest is what equips you for what is coming. Rest is what allows you to walk into the new season with strength instead of burnout. Rest is what finally sets you free from the shadow of old battles. And so I leave you with this truth. You are not in constant danger anymore. You are not one mistake away from losing everything. You are not cursed to live beneath exhaustion. You are safe now. You are free now. You are held now. And you are invited to rest deeply and fully, knowing the hardest war of your life has already been won. The battles you've walked through tried to convince you that survival was all you were meant to know. Every trial, every moment of pressure whispered to you that you had to wear endurance as your identity, that the only way forward was to stay on guard, to keep fighting without pause. But heaven has been singing a different truth over you. What survival tried to brand as your identity, heaven is now rewriting as inheritance. That inheritance is rest. Not just physical stillness, but the kind of rest that reaches into the deepest corners of your being, calming your spirit, quieting your mind, and steadying your heart. When you begin to live inside this rest, it transforms everything about the way you move through life. You notice the tension in your shoulders loosening because you no longer feel the need to prove yourself at every turn. You find yourself breathing deeper, walking slower, not because you've lost ambition, but because you've discovered that desperation is no longer required. The things that are meant for you begin to find their way to your hands without you clawing for them. The doors that belong to you swing open without you pounding them down. And the voices that once demanded your attention, the ones that never really understood you or respected you, lose their pull. You don't feel the compulsion to explain yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. Rest does that. It silences desperation, and desperation was the last chain that kept you bound. To enter rest does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become careless or abandon responsibility. Rest is not giving up. Rest is shifting the foundation on which you stand. It means you no longer let fear dictate your pace or your worth. It means you stop believing that everything depends on you running faster, trying harder, stretching yourself thinner just to survive. Rest means you are finally allowing God to carry what He always intended to carry for you. And isn't that the heart of His promise? Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That is not just poetic comfort. It is covenant, a binding truth written into the fabric of your existence. Rest is not an accident. It is part of your reward. Think of it this way. A soldier does not fight every single day without end. A farmer does not plow the soil endlessly without ever reaping a harvest. Life was never meant to be one unbroken battle. You were designed to live in cycles, seasons of effort, yes, but also seasons of receiving. Seasons where the fruit of your labor is gathered into your hands, where you breathe deeply and let the ground lie still for a time. You are in one of those seasons now. Pay attention to the subtle invitations God has already placed before you. Notice those moments of quiet that don't feel like emptiness anymore, but instead feel like a fullness you can't quite describe. Notice the peace that defies logic, that lingers beside you even when circumstances look uncertain. That is heaven's rest touching your life. And yes, it may feel unfamiliar at first. When you have lived your life wired for survival, joy itself can feel suspicious. Stillness can feel threatening. Love can feel like a trick, as if it's too good to be true. That discomfort is not a sign that rest is wrong. It's a sign that your body and your mind are still catching up to what your spirit already knows. Heaven has already declared it. The battle is finished. Now it's your turn to learn how to live as though it's true. So be gentle with yourself in this process. Practice resting the same way you once practiced fighting. Practice receiving with the same dedication you once gave to persevering. With time, you will begin to see that rest does not make you soft. It makes you sharper. Your thoughts become clearer when they're not clouded by exhaustion. Your love becomes deeper when you're not running on fumes. Your ability to build and create becomes stronger when you're not constantly stopping to repair yourself. This is why God is so insistent on shifting you into rest. He's not offering you a short break. He's giving you sustainability. He's teaching you that His blessing is never meant to come at the price of your burnout. His love is not supposed to feel like another war. This rest is sacred. It is holy ground. It is restoration. It is heaven's way of telling you, you've carried the impossible, and you've done well. Now breathe. Let me take it from here. That is not failure. That is fulfillment. That is covenant in motion. So let this truth wash over you today like a blanket wrapping you in warmth. You are not falling behind by resting. You are not losing momentum by catching your breath. You are not wasting time by being still. You are aligning yourself with the rhythm of heaven itself. Because heaven never asked you to carry it all forever. Heaven asked you to trust. And the deepest expression of trust looks a lot like rest. So when you lay down tonight, let yourself close your eyes without guilt. Exhale without fear. Smile without waiting for the other shoe to drop. This time it's different. The verdict over your life is victory. The invitation extended to you is rest. And both of these belong fully to you. And when words like this land on your spirit, they have a way of drawing you deeper, making you want to linger in their presence. That's why I created Simplified Serenity, a space filled with music designed for prayer, for meditation, and for deep, unshakable rest. If you feel called, I would love to share it with you. The link is in the description. May this next season be the season where rest becomes not just a moment, but your way of living.